Dear students, welcome to the PowerPoint presentation of Physics for Class 12. In this section, we will study about electric field lines and Gauss' law under Chapter 1 titled Electric Charges and Fields. The topics covered are electric field lines, electric flux, Gauss' law and applications of Gauss' law. Please note down all the important points discussed in this session. All these points discussed are very important from the point of view of your examinations board as well as the competitive examination. Welcome once again. Electric field lines. Electric field lines provide a means for visualizing the direction and magnitude of electric fields. An electric lines of force is an imaginary straight or curved path along which a unit positive charge is supposed to move when free to do so in an electric field. Field lines are not physically present but represent the real situation. Hence, electric field lines are for visualizing the direction and magnitude of field lines. Please see the figure on the right hand side. There are four diagrams. The upper diagrams show the vector representation of electric field line, which shows a number of arrows. On the left side, Q is greater than 0. That means the charge is positive. On the right hand side, two figures are for negative charge, that is Q is less than 0. If you observe closely, on the left hand side, the arrows are pointing outwards. That is, for positive charge, the direction is outwards. And on the right hand side, the arrows are pointing inwards. That means for negative charge, the field lines are represented by inward diagrams, inward lines. Properties of field lines. Flux lines are imaginary lines. They can never cross each other and do not form closed loop. Field lines originate on positive charge and terminate on negative charge. As seen in the diagrams, the outward lines are originated from positive charge Q, and on the right hand side, on the negative charge, they are terminating. Some more representation of field lines are shown on the next diagram, that is figure C and D. On the top of figures, that is figure C, you will see both Q are positive charges. This is for two charges, both are positive. On the lower side, we have one positive and one negative charge. That is, on the left it is plus Q, on the right hand side it is minus Q. Hence, as we said, the field lines originate from positive charge and terminate on the negative charge. So, you will you will see in this diagram the lines are originating from plus Q and terminating on minus Q. And similarly, these lines are pointing towards the negative charge. So these are the terminating fields. These are the original field. Here you see both are positive. In figure C, both are positive, plus Q and plus Q. Both are positive. Hence, both the direction of arrows is outwards. Hence, these are the originating positive charge. Electric field vector at any point is tangent to a field line through that point. You please see here this figure, in this, here there is a tangent. Electric field line is a curve here, and lines of force are, these are the lines of force, and electric field is tangent. Here also it is tangent. So electric field vector at any point is a tangent to a field line through that point. Electric field lines are perpendicular to the surface of the charged sphere. So, electric field lines are also represented by perpendicular to the surface of charged sphere. They are continuous curves. Electric field lines are continuous curves. The density of field lines in any region is proportional to the magnitude of electric field in that region. That is, dN by dA is proportional to dN by dA is proportional to E. If you see here, the strength of field lines is more here. That is, the number of lines per unit area is more here. Whereas in this region, they are well spread out. That means these represent regions of weak field. These are the weak field and these are the regions of strong field because number of lines are more. Electric field lines do not pass through conductors. Another property of electric field lines is that they do not pass through conductors, but they can still pass through insulators. We will see all these in detail in our next slides. Let us repeat what we have learnt in this uh, topic in this slide. One, electric field lines. Electric field lines provide means for visualizing the direction and magnitude of electric fields. So, electric fields are imaginary, can be straight lines like this or curved lines like this. A unit positive charge is supposed to move when we are free to do so in electric field. If field lines are not physically present, these lines are not physically present, these are only imaginary, but represent the real situation. Field lines are imaginary, they can never cross each other. If you see all these diagrams, you will find that field lines are never crossing each other. Field lines originate on positive charge and terminate on negative charge. The electric vector, field vector at any point is tangent to a field line. Electric lines are perpendicular to, these are perpendicular to the surfaces. You see surface of charge. This is a P3 is a charge and these lines are perpendicular. They are continuous curves. The density of field lines in any region is proportional to the magnitude of electric field in that region. That is, number of field lines per unit area is proportional to the field lines. So, if field line is strong, the number of lines will be more, and if the field is weak, the number of lines per unit area will be less. Electric field lines do not pass through conductors but can pass through insulators. Electric flux. Previous slide we learnt about the field lines. Now we will study about electric flux. The total number of electric field lines passing through the given surfaces normally is the electric flux phi. It is represented by letter phi. So, the total number of lines. Electric flux is a number of electric field lines passing through the given surface normally, that is perpendicular to the surface. Please see the figures on the right hand side. Here this is the normal. The electric field line is inclined here. So, d phi is represented by E ds cos theta. Electric flux linked d phi through a small area. This is a small area, elements ds, due to an electric field. This is the lines are due to this electric field at an angle theta. This is angle theta between E and the normal. This is normal. N is the normal to the surface with ds. ds is here. This is the ds surface area. ds is, it is given by d phi is equal to E ds cos theta. Let it be equation 1.3a. This is another representation of electric field and flux lines. So, here this is the area, is some odd shape area, and this is a uniform field. The green lines are uniform lines passing from left to right. See, this is a vector E. So here ds are all the small unit areas. Electric field vector is ds is perpendicular to the surface. The total electric flux phi over the whole surface in an electric field, E is the electric field, E is also defined as the surface integral. It is the surface integral. This is the surface integral. Surface integral of electric field over that surface. Therefore, phi is given by integral of E ds, E dot ds, that is equal to integral E ds cos theta. Let this be equation 1.3b. Electric flux is a scalar quantity, but it is a property of vector field. Though electric flux is a scalar quantity, but it is a property of vector field. CSI unit of electric flux is Newton meter square per coulomb or joules meter per coulomb. Gauss's law. Gauss's law states that the total electric flux linked with a closed surface is equal to 1 over epsilon times the total electric charge Q inside the closed surface. That means the flux is equal to 1 over epsilon naught times the total electric charge. It can be represented as a formula phi E is equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught, where phi is the flux, Q is the charge and epsilon naught is the permittivity. Let this be equation 1.4. When Q enclosed is the net charge inside an imaginary closed surface called Gaussian surface. Q enclosed is the net charge inside a imaginary closed surface called Gaussian surface. And phi is the net flux of the field through the surface. Gaussian surface is an imaginary closed surface enclosing a charge. There are different shapes and different types of Gaussian surfaces that we are going to study in subsequent paragraphs or subsequent slides. Point charge or a non-discrete charge distributions. It has same intensity of electricity at all points on its surface. That is, the surface has the same intensity of electric field. Gauss law is true for any closed surface. Gauss law and Coulomb's law are equivalent ways of describing the relation between charge and electric field in static situations. Therefore, total charge Q equals charges enclosed by the surface. If the system has symmetry, it is very easy to calculate electric field. All these examples we will take up in subsequent slides. Let us first derive Coulomb's law from Gauss law. Consider a hypothetical spherical surface of radius r with charge q at its center as shown in the figure. Here we have a hypothetical spherical surface. This is the spherical surface. This circle is a spherical surface and its radius is r. R with point charge q at its center. This is the center and here the charge q is located. According to Gauss law, d phi is equal to E dot ds. E dot d phi is equal to E dot ds, that is equal to E ds cos theta. Therefore, integrating we will get phi is equal to q over epsilon naught. From Coulomb's law, we know E is equal to Q1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. But F is equal to E into Q2. Therefore, force is equal to Q1 Q2 over 4 pi epsilon naught R square. This is nothing but Coulomb's law, which is obtained from Gauss law. So, according to Gauss law, d phi is equal to E dot ds, that is vector into the surface area, that is equal to, by taking component, E ds cos theta. Therefore, phi is equal to q naught, q over epsilon naught, and E is given by, here substituting, E is given by 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught q1 r square. Therefore, F is equal to E into q2. That is, if we multiply this E with q2, we will get value of F. Therefore, F is equal to q1 q2 over 4 pi epsilon. Here ds we are substituting with q1 by r square. So, we have derived Coulomb's law from Gauss law. Applications of Gauss law. Using Gauss law and symmetry arguments, we can derive several important results in the following electrostatic situations. Flux through Gaussian shape is independent of the shape. Flux through Gaussian surface depends only on charges present inside the Gaussian surface. Flux through Gaussian surface is independent of the position of charges inside the Gaussian surface. It can be located either at the center or at surface or anywhere in the inside the Gaussian surface, and flux is independent of that. And that means flux is uniform all through. Electric field intensity is due to all charges both inside and outside the Gaussian surface. This is very important. The electric field intensity surrounding the Gaussian surface is due to all charges both inside and outside. In a closed surface, outgoing flux is taken as positive and incoming flux is taken as negative. In Gaussian surface, phi equal to 0 does not imply E is equal to 0. Suppose in any Gaussian if in any Gaussian surface phi is equal to 0, then it does not imply E equal to 0. Whereas if we say for a particular Gaussian surface E is equal to 0, then it implies phi is definitely 0. That means if E is 0, phi is 0. But if phi is 0, it does not imply that E is 0. An excess charge on the conductor is located entirely on the outer surface of the conductor. The external electric field near the surface of a charged conductor is perpendicular to the surface and has magnitude E is equal to sigma over epsilon naught. Within the conductor, E is 0. The electric field at any point due to an infinite line charge with a uniform linear charge density lambda is perpendicular to the line of charge and has magnitude E is equal to lambda over 2 pi epsilon naught r, where r is the perpendicular distance from linear charge to that point. This case we will study in our next slide. The electric field due to an infinite non-conducting sheet. Please note, non-conducting sheet, infinite non-conducting sheet with a uniform charge density sigma is perpendicular to the plane. Here it is perpendicular to the line of charge. Here it is perpendicular to the plane of sheet and has magnitude E is equal to sigma over 2 epsilon naught. This is also we are going to prove in our next slide. The electric field outside a spherical shell of charge with radius capital R and total charge Q is directed radially and has magnitude electric field intensity E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R square. For cases where R is far greater than R is the radius of the spherical shell. Here R is the distance from center of the shell to the point at which E is measured. So these are the cases of flux densities: linear flux density and surface flux density and volume flux density. All these specific cases we will examine in our next examples. The field inside uniform spherical shell of a charge is exactly 0. That means inside the spherical shell E is equal to 0, where the small r, the distance, is less than the radius of the shell. The electric field inside a uniform sphere of charge is directed radially and has a magnitude E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R cube into R. Applications of Gauss law we will continue in this slide also. Uniformly charged infinite plate sheet. Gauss law is a powerful tool for calculating electric field intensity in case of symmetrical charge distributions by choosing a Gaussian surface in such a way that E is either parallel or perpendicular to its face. So here we have to select a sheet. Consider a plane sheet of charge having a charge density sigma. Here please see the figure. Here it is a sheet. This is a rectangular sheet having a charge density sigma. Sigma, it is shown here. Sigma is the charge density of this place. We have to calculate EP, for which we will consider a Gaussian surface in the form of a pillbox. This is called a pillbox as shown. So a plane sheet of charge having a charge density sigma and electric field is EP. The charge enclosed by Gaussian surface is given by sigma into S. This sigma into the area of this plate. So flux linked with pillbox is phi is equal to flux linked E into S due to one sheet and another surface E into S, that is equal to 2Es, and inside that is 0. Therefore, for Gaussian, from Gauss law, we say phi E is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Therefore, this ES, that is equal to 2Es, that is the flux, is equal to 2 into ES equals sigma into S divided by epsilon naught as per Gauss law. Therefore, E is given by this S and this S get cancelled. Therefore, E is equal to sigma, and this 2 comes to the denominator 2 epsilon naught. So this is E is equal to 2 epsilon naught is the electric field intensity for a Gaussian surface of infinite plate sheet. Now we will consider a uniformly charged conductor. Consider a charged conductor as shown in the figure. Here again we are considering a charged conductor. This is a conductor and we will concentrate on this charge of this conductor. Inside the surface E equal to 0, E inside is 0. So, phi is equal to Es, and hence in this case E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught. Here only one, it is sigma by epsilon naught, and the other side it is E in is 0 and only E out is there. So, E out E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught. The result can be verified from the fact that the field intensity at the surface of a charged spherical conductor of radius r is E is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square, with q is equal to 4 pi r square sigma. Therefore, see 4 pi r square sigma, you put q is equal to 4 pi r square sigma here, this 4 pi epsilon naught and 4 pi and this 4 pi get cancelled. Therefore, E becomes sigma over epsilon naught. This r square and in the numerator, if you put this equation 4 pi r square in the numerator, q is equal to r square gets cancelled, 4 pi gets cancelled, only epsilon naught remains. Therefore, E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught. Let us tabulate the results of application of Gauss law. In this table, on the left side we are given serial number 1, 2, 3, 4. So, let us consider the surface near the charge conductor. Surface is a charge conductor. So, charge density is given by sigma coulombs per meter. So, electric field intensity in this case is E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught, that we have proved it in the previous section, and E is directed perpendicular to the direction. Second case is at a point due to infinite long uniformly charged wire. This is the uniformly infinite length of charged wire, and we are required to find out the electric field intensity due to this. Here we will consider linear charge density as, here this is the linear charge density as lambda coulombs per meter. That means lambda coulombs, the charge is coulomb per meter. Here the total length is L, but we are confined to coulomb per meter. So, therefore, E in this case is given by E is equal to E, this is the E. E is perpendicular to the wire. E is equal to lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught into R. This is the distance of point P. R is the distance from line charge and direction is perpendicular to the conductor, charge wire. In the third case, non-conducting sheet. Non-conducting sheet, the surface charge density is sigma coulomb per meter square, sigma coulomb per square, and the electric field intensity is given by E is equal to sigma over 2 epsilon naught, and this is also perpendicular to the plane. In the third case, outside the spherical shell, here we have a spherical shell of radius capital R whose center is R, whereas our point, we are required to find out the electric field intensity at point P, which is located outside. This is the outside the sphere. This dark blue line is a sphere and dotted line is a Gaussian surface. So, E is equal to, in this case, E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught into R square, where R is the radius, or small r, capital R is the radius of the shell, and small r is the distance from O to P. That is, O is the center. here R is far greater than R. You see here R is outside the R. In this case, the electric field intensity E is given by Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R square. In the next case, inside the spherical shell, this is the inside of the spherical shell. Here Gaussian surface is inside the shell. So small r is less than capital R. So here all the surface is distributed over the surface, this outer surface, this blue ring. There is no charge inside. Q is 0 inside. Therefore, because Q is 0, E is also 0 inside. Because within R less than capital R, therefore E is equal to 0 in this side, E in this case, and E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R square in the case A. In yet another case, sphere of charge rho is equal to, here we consider volume charge, rho is equal to Q over R cube, and we can derive electric field intensity as E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R cube into R, where R is greater than capital R. R is outside the radius. So let us revise. For electric field intensity for a charged conductor is E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught. And in case of a long straight uniform wire, E is equal to lambda over 2 pi epsilon naught R, where lambda is the charge density per meter. And in case of a non-conducting sheet, the surface charge density equals sigma over surface charge density or sigma coulombs per meter square, and E is equal to 2 epsilon naught, and which is perpendicular to the plane. And outside the spherical shell, the charge density is sigma coulomb per meter cube. E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R square. Here outside the Gaussian surface is outside the sphere of radius capital R. And in the third case, inside the spherical shell, the field intensity is 0. Therefore, E equals 0. And for a sphere of charge rho is equal to Q over R cube coulombs per meter cube. And in this case, electric field intensity is given by equation E is equal to Q over 4 pi epsilon naught R cube into R, where R is greater than capital R and it is directed radially.